Welcome back. All right, so just for some fun today, I took the time. I watched AEW Dark, and I thought, well, I'll go over what's going on with AEW Dark this week. Now, it is a fun show because you're seeing a lot of new wrestlers. You're seeing wrestlers learning on the job and understanding that there's part of that going on too. And some wrestlers who may not be as familiar with each other as what we normally see with like Dynamite, with Raw, with SmackDown, that kind of thing, right? So they started off with Kiera Hogan against Allie Rex. It was the debut for Miss Rex, and she lost pretty quickly. Kiera Hogan steamrolled her. One thing that they do, which reminds me of the old NWA/WCW, and I know WWE does this at times, but it doesn't feel like it's as often as what we see here. There's one wrestler that's just in the ring, no fanfare, and they're announced second, kind of like, oh, yeah, and this person's over here. You know, they're getting the Barry Horowitz treatment. Then we had Ryan Nemeth, the brother of Dolph Ziggler, in against Alex Reynolds. And this was a pretty good match. Honestly, Nemeth is a good wrestler. The Wingmen are good wrestlers. They're there as enhancement talent. They understand their role. And he made Reynolds look pretty darn good. So Reynolds gets the win. Nice match there. Then we get into Tracy Nix against Marina Shafir. There's a lot of hate on Marina Shafir. And I get it. She has, at least what we see in this match and what I've seen of her, very limited moveset when it comes to wrestling. She needs to be better at the wrestling side of things. One thing for Ronda Rousey, she did learn the wrestling as well as I've ever seen anybody take it right away. Going from MMA to wrestling is very, very different. And some MMA guys and ladies are clearly really good at making that adaptation, and others aren't. So while Shafir gets a relatively easy win, I felt kind of bad for Tracy Nix because she has the right look. It was her debut, so there's a good chance that AEW, seeing the crowd reaction and seeing how she works in the ring, they may keep her around. We'll see what happens. But Shafir gets the easy win, and a lot of it was with kicks and punches. And another thing I noticed too, people mention in the chat that I agree with, is that her offense is... It's not, again, if you watch a Ronda Rousey match and then you watch Marina Shafir, you can see the difference right away. And so Shafir's really going to have to work on that. Get her on Dark as often as you can. Get her through her paces. I think she'll figure it out, and then you've got yourself a legitimate contender until the day comes that Shayna Baszler decides she's had enough of being held back in WWE, which I would not blame her if she felt the way. The funny thing, though, with Shayna is really, really nice outside the ring. Really nice lady, so she might be perfectly fine with putting other people over. Then they had Slim J making his debut against Blake Lee. Blake Lee was 0-2 to start the match. He was in the ring before it started, so I was like, all right, I know what's going to happen. And it was true, and it would not be the last we saw of Slim J either. I mean, the match was all right. Some good moves by both. And again, when you're dealing with so many matches over such a short period of time, it is hard for things to stand out, really. And again, because there's no feud with this, these are just, matches thrown together for Dark. There's limited build you got here. Then Renee Michelle's against Julia Hart. Renee Michelle, of course, the wife of Drake Maverick. Remember all the Drake Maverick skits in WWE and them getting married and all that stuff? Yeah, I think Renee Michelle is talented. Julia Hart obviously was going to get the win. There's no way that the House of Black member is losing to Renee Michelle, who now has, I think it's an 0-2 record this year in AEW. It was a submission win for Julia Hart, and it wasn't the only one. The Slim J one was by tap out. I believe Reynolds was by tap out as well. I'm not saying that's a negative. I've always thought that submissions should be used a little more than they are. The reason is simple. I don't think that tapping out shows that a wrestler's a coward, and it's been portrayed that way, but I don't understand why. If somebody's got your arm in a hold and they could break it, obviously you're going to submit because you don't want your arm to get broken. I don't think that's a coward's way out, and yet it's portrayed that way at times. You tapped out. You tapped out. You guys know that chant. To me, it's always been kind of odd. I think that if you use it to put somebody over, I think that's really good. Of course, I'm in favor of what's called a superior match, like a superior decision, meaning that you've beaten somebody down so bad the guy cannot respond, and the referee goes, you know what, this match is over. For the safety of this wrestler, yeah, you win, get out of the ring. I've always thought that is a fantastic way to win a match, and it's basically gone. That used to be a thing, winner by superior decision, and it makes those monster wrestlers look even more intimidating when they just beat a guy down to the point where there's no 10 count. It's just the referee looks and goes, yeah, he can't wrestle. He's not. You win. Just go. You got the go. Just go. Then we had Cole Carter come out against Mike Orlando. Now Cole Carter made his AEW debut last week. He was working as the heel here, it looked like. So we'll see which side he ends up falling on in coming weeks. He did win it with a 450 splash, nicely executed. And if you can execute a 450 splash well, the fans will appreciate you. Then we had Angelo Parker versus Cameron Stewart. Angelo Parker, of course, a member of the Jericho Appreciation Society, meaning he's going to get the win, which he did. It was a quick win. It was an odd match. But anyways, regardless of odd match or not, it's done. And Angelo Parker gets the win for the Jericho Appreciation Society, and then combed his hair because that's his main thing. So, and in my experience, when a wrestler really treasures their hair and they have this whole thing where they comb their hair after the match, either they're going to lose a hair versus hair match, or something's going to happen at some point that's going to involve their hair. All right. Then we had Blake Christian against Ari Daivari. Excellent match. This match was very good. Blake Christian, there were a lot of comments about how small he is. Yeah, a lot of wrestlers, when they're starting out, are kind of smaller. Even your Triple H, your Shawn Michaels, they didn't beef up right away. They started out as smaller wrestlers. Daivari, we always know we're going to get a good match from him. We did. He was interviewed, and then we get an interview inside. He was interviewed inside the ring. I believe he was the one, too, that had Slim J at ringside, who, ended up messing things up for Blake Christian. But yeah, Daivari, good interview, good match. He gets the win, not a surprise. But watch for Blake Christian to get some more matches. Then Dante Martin had a match with Peter Avalon. Peter Avalon is this generation's Barry Horowitz. Really is. Barry Horowitz almost never won a match. But Barry Horowitz was a very good wrestler. He could work. He could make the other guy look like $1 million. And sometimes the best wrestlers in a company don't necessarily get the wins. They don't necessarily get the notoriety and move up the card. Peter Avalon knows his role and he plays it well. And I thought this was an excellent match. I did see comments too like, oh, Dante Martin, every time he comes back in a match, it's the same thing. Welcome to wrestling. Hulk Hogan, it was the same thing every time. So I'd be watching a Hogan match. He'd start to shake like this. And I'm like, okay, this match is over. Because I didn't like Hogan. So anyway, Dante Martin gets the win. There's tons of talent with that kid, whether he ends up realizing it in AEW or whether he ends up going to WWE to realize it. We'll see. And again, I don't go for the whole tribalism of AEW or WWE's better. I watched Raw last night, parts of it anyways, and I thought it was entertaining. So, and I did notice that there was less complaining about the way things went at Raw. And so we'll see whether or not with Triple H in charge of booking if things really straighten out. The finale, the big main event in this one, wasn't actually held in front of the same crowd. It was for the All-Atlantic title. It was clearly a taped event that they were showing here. The footage was from Ireland, and it said Poetry Slam. So I don't know if that was the name of the event or what. But, the crowd was fantastic. Pac, who is right now a face in AEW, playing the heel against LJ Cleary, who clearly was the favorite with the fans. He's their guy. Cleary has a lot of potential, and so we'll see whether or not he ends up coming over. But one thing that I really liked with this match, and one thing I really like that AEW is doing, is it does not hurt your promotion to put on matches in other promotions, to talk about other promotions, to work with other promotions. I don't think it hurts you at all. It's not like AEW is going to lose their spot on network TV and somebody's going to say, oh, we should put this company on instead. Not going to happen. So I think that the whole Forbidden Door thing with Japan is great, but also having this where you have Pac with this All-Atlantic title and he can go anywhere and defend it against anybody. Sign me up for that. That's fantastic. That's going back to the old territory days when Ric Flair would take his NWA title, go up against the biggest biggest name in that territory and put him over. Ric Flair would go to the territory to put over their top guy. He wouldn't lose the NWA title necessarily, but he'd put over their top guy. And I don't think there's any harm in that. And again, Pac in this one, working as the bad guy, he can work as either. He can absolutely get the fans behind him. He can absolutely make the fans hate him. The other thing I like with Pac, he can wrestle a fast, 450 splash, dive fest kind of match. But he also gives pretty stiff kicks. He's also capable of slowing a match down and looking believable as somebody grinding his opponent down to the point where he can pin him for the 3 count. So it was a really good match. Pac, of course, retains the belt. I didn't have any idea, maybe this Cleary kid beats him. But he made him look really good. He did. He was clearly in charge of the match. You could see him calling moves here and there, but again, I don't worry about that so much. You can see it in WWE. You can see it in other companies. It's going to happen. You can't always lock up with a guy and whisper in their ear what the next move's going to be. So yeah, you're going to see guys calling moves. Basically, he took a chop, and then he said to him, one more. So he took the second chop, and then he gave him an elbow. But again, you're going to see that in matches as it is. So it was a good show. Again, if you like wrestling and you just enjoy watching wrestling for the sake of watching wrestling, this is fun. And this is a chance for some of these wrestlers to practice. And in the case of women wrestling, they get time. Now, they don't get time on Dynamite very much. I do wonder when that's going to change. I do wonder if Dynamite at some point is going to go to 3 hours, or if they're going to go to a second hour for Rampage. The one thing I will say is they do have issues with booking women, but when you're given 1 match per week on Dynamite, there's not a lot you can book. So until we're in a position where women are wrestling a lot more and there's more time given to them, it's limited what you can do to fix the booking problems with the women. So we'll see what happens from here. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you're browsing your way through, you just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.